fix this one. Yeah, he should be here too. I think in the interest of time, we're going to go ahead and get started. I do believe that Senator Budd and Senator or Congressman Rouser will be joining us. I want to start by welcoming a lot of great North Carolinians for coming up for the hearing that we're going to have later today on Lumbee recognition. I want to thank my colleagues in the House first and foremost. They did something that's never been done. My Republican colleagues in the House worked the system, got the support to put recognition in the National Defense Authorization Act. That is an extraordinary measure, but what makes it even more extraordinary, it was done without a single dissenting voice in the U.S. Congress. And I don't know if y'all know how extraordinary that is, but you can't even get people to be quiet over a resolution recognizing motherhood and apple pie without a dissenting voice. So the fact that we have come that far and we have that provision in the National Defense Authorization Act, and we're only one successful conference away from righting a 137-year wrong, it's extraordinary. And it's been done through the hard work of staff, through the hard work of my colleagues in the House, through my partner, Ted Budd, and I should also add through the work and the messaging from Michael Watley, a gentleman from down in North Carolina that many of you may know. So today we're going to go to the hearing and explain why it's time to right this 137-year-old wrong since state recognition. I'm not going to get into details. I'll say that for my opening comments in the hearing, but I want to talk a little bit about why it's personal to me, and particularly the opposition by the Eastern Band of the Cherokee. I served as Speaker of the House for 2 terms in North Carolina, and I remember none other than now Chief Hicks. He was out and back in his position for the Eastern Band of the Cherokee. He came to my office to explain to me the challenges that the Eastern Band of the Cherokee had over the years. And I told Chief Hicks, I said, you know, to be honest with you, Chief, I'm not from North Carolina. I don't know your story, but I'm going to go and study your story, and then I'll be back with you. I went back in the story of the Cherokee Indian. I went back and I had another meeting with Chief Hicks, and I said, you know, I've got to tell you, I'm embarrassed to not know all that you've gone through over the years. And so I was so inspired by righting a wrong for the Eastern Band of the Cherokee that I laid down the only bill as Speaker of the House to renegotiate a contract and provide a transformational opportunity for the Cherokee people against the objections of a majority of my Republican colleagues when I was Speaker of the House. Folks, this is the only bill in the entire 4 years I was Speaker I was willing to do because I felt like I was helping right a wrong. And we did that. And the results for the Cherokee are undeniable. It was transformational. Now, in my second term, I got to know about another tribe that, quite honestly, I didn't know that much about. I had somebody come to my office and talk about the Lumbee. And once again, I studied it and found out that we could at least help them on their path. What they really needed was federal recognition. But a couple of years later, I ratified a bill that actually laid the groundwork for the hard work that you all were doing to get a cultural center, to do everything that you have to do to demonstrate the legitimacy of your argument for recognition. The Cherokee have done it. The Lumbee have done it. Now it's time to act. And I'm going to go to the hearing today and make opening comments. But make no mistake, in my remaining time in the U.S. Senate, I will move heaven and earth to be successful. And I believe that my congressional delegation, the majority of them, are right along with me. And to that end, I would like to I'd like to offer the opportunity for, I don't think Senator Budd's made it yet. So why don't we go to Tim Moore, who followed me as Speaker of the House and was by my side when we were doing these votes as my rules chair. Tim?
Thank you. Thank you, Tom. Well, good afternoon. And just to follow up on what Senator Tillis mentioned about the legislation that we passed that helped the Eastern Band of the Cherokee Indians. I think at that time you'd actually tasked me with carrying that bill, if I recall correctly. Yep. So we got that done because it also did right or wrong for many years. And, you know, I've really got to thank Senator Tillis and Senator Budd for their leadership, and just to know how much Senator Tillis particularly is really leaning in on this issue. And he's doing this because he knows it is simply the right thing. I also want to give a shout out to President Trump, who is one of his first executive orders sought the recognition of the Lumbee. I mean, that says so much. You know, and to be clear, actually, there's the history of this is a little interesting. But the Lumbee were actually recognized by the U.S. Congress in 1956. Isn't that right, Chief? But right here, we've got to deal with what's called the termination era of Indian policy, where that was rolled back. And so we've got to right that wrong. And so this legislation does it. Very proud to have joined our colleagues in the House to have included this language in the NDAA, which passed without objection. And that says a lot. And so I think a lot of folks recognize it very simply is the right thing to do. I know many of these folks standing behind me personally. I got to know them when I was in the state legislature, got to forge friendships, got to really know the community as well, and really understand the history. And if someone makes just a pure study of the history of the Lumbee, looks at the facts, it is absolutely undeniable. They are a fully vetted Indian tribe that should get the same federal recognition as other tribes. They've done a lot of great work. I'm very proud of the Catawba, the chief of whom is here today as well, Chief Harris, who have done so much for our region of the state. And I can tell you that recognizing the historical importance and the contributions of Native Americans, recognizing the importance of Indian tribes around the country is something that is the right thing to do. And righting the wrongs that have occurred in the past is absolutely key. And today, this hearing that you'll be in, Senator, is a huge step moving this in the right direction. So I want to thank what the senators are now doing. I want to thank what I've been proud to be a part of what we did over in the House, and really just thank these folks who traveled from Robeson County. If you've never been to Robeson County, you need to go. You won't leave hungry, I promise that. But who traveled here from the Lumbee, who were here because they are this tribe, they love this tribe, and they are great, wonderful Americans. We're going to do the right thing today. They deserve the recognition, and you certainly can count me in to keep doing that. Thank you, Senator.
Well, thank you, Senator Tillis, and to all of you. We're so grateful for the work that Senator Tillis and Senator Budd are bringing about here in the Senate and for this hearing that's going to happen a little bit later today. You know, for too long, the Lumbee Tribe of North Carolina has been wrongfully denied full federal recognition. With over 55,000 individuals, the Lumbee people are a core part of the 8th District of North Carolina that I am honored to represent in the United States House of Representatives. I'm honored to be their advocate. I'm honored to speak up for something that needs to be done to correct a wrong. I know firsthand from the experiences I've had in Robeson County and with these folks that they are the salt of the earth. In fact, I've described them oftentimes as hardworking patriots who deserve access to the federal services like their tribal counterparts. Today, we're focusing on taking legislative action to fix this problem and amend the 1956 law that currently prohibits this access. My colleagues and I have fought and will continue to fight to deliver for the Lumbee. I've had the privilege of speaking with House leadership in just the last several weeks, as well as the White House, on the importance of including the Lumbee Fairness Act in the final version of the NDAA for fiscal year 2026, and even to ensure that a Lumbee advocate is included on the conference committee. We're making requests at all levels, and I'm grateful, as Congressman Moore mentioned, President Trump in his executive order helped set much of this in action. The Lumbee tribe's lack of recognition has been a historic injustice, and I'm hopeful this group will finally receive the recognition it so profoundly deserves. And thank you to all of you that made the trip here to Washington, D.C. to stand for Let's Doing What Is Right. God bless you.
Thank you, Senator Tillis. Thank you all for being here today. This is very significant for North Carolina and much beyond that. So there's more than 60,000 enrolled Lumbees, and I think they deserve true federal recognition and full benefits. That's what today's about. So originally, the state of North Carolina recognized the Lumbee in 1885. But in 1956, Congress, this place right here, it denied Lumbee benefits that every other federal recognized tribe receives. And I don't think that's right, and this is about fixing that. And I just want to thank the Department of Interior, which released a great statement today. I would encourage you in the press to pull this and to read the details of it. I think it's very significant. But there's something, and when I talk to other tribal leaders from other tribes, one of their concern is the diminishment of their rights and benefits. So there's a very key line here that I want to draw your attention to. It says, recognition of the Lumbee tribe through S-107 does not diminish the rights or status of currently federally recognized Indian tribes. I think that's very important. And Lumbee leadership has been making that argument for a very long time. And it's nice to also see that from the Department of Interior and from the administration. I think this is something that's tremendously important. It's already passed. I've served in the House 3 terms, and it passed multiple times when I was there. And now we need to get this through the Senate, and we need to get this signed into law. So I want to thank you for your attention to this. I want to thank you for your patience and your diligence and your leadership. Chairman Lowry, thank you so much for being here, and for my colleagues in the House and the Senate. And remember, this is not a partisan issue. We have people from Democrats, Republicans, House, and Senate. So it's bicameral and bipartisan, and I think that shows how important this actually is. So let's get this done. Thank you all.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm John Lowry, Chairman of the Lumbee Tribe. I do want to take this moment to say thank you to all of our tribal members who have come up for this hearing today. It's great to have them here. I just want to say thank you to our congressmen and our senators for pushing and fighting. As you've heard numerous times, and we'll say 100 more times if we had to, in 1956, the Lumbee Act was passed. In 1956, the Lumbee were designated, were recognized, were said that we are the Lumbee Indians of North Carolina. But at the same time, at the height of federal Indian termination era, they also said you cannot receive services and benefits. 1956, and here we are, still fighting, still pushing, still trying to get this done. I do hope that I'm the last chairman of the Lumbee Tribe who has to sit before this United States Congress and testify on behalf of undoing what the 1956 Act did. So we need clear, concise, and unambiguous law, and that's what the Lumbee Fairness Act does. It clarifies, it amends, it modifies the 1956 Act to give us the full status that we need as American Indian people. So once again, I just want to say thank you to everyone who has fought this battle. Senator Tillis, thank you for just going to the mat. He has been just rigid, dogged. He's just been tearing up this place. But the fact is, if you want to get stuff done, you have to do that. You really do. Just because something's the right thing to do doesn't mean it gets done. One thing I've learned about D.C. is there's a lot of money pushed into this place. And there's a lot of money that's been pushed against us. A lot of casino money, money that our people do not have and will never have. But there's one thing about it. When you're on the right side of history, things fall in place. So I just want to thank these senators, thank these congressmen. Thank you guys. Thank you for everything. Thank you for your hard work. As Senator Budd said, it is bipartisan, it is bicameral. I mean, it's just, we're rolling. And just this morning, President Trump put out a statement on American Indian History Month, and he talked about supporting full federal recognition for the great Lumbee Nation. So once again, just thank you guys, and we look forward to this hearing in just a few minutes. Thank y'all.
Yeah, so with that, again, just to summarize, in this Congress, we've had Republican leadership move this out of committee and put it into the NDAA without a single dissenting vote in the House. We have a record number of co-sponsors in the Senate. We have 20, and the list would grow if we wanted to grow it. But at this point, it's just time to get her done. And we're going to do everything we can to work with the Senate Armed Services conferees and with my colleagues to make sure that this is done right. But make no mistake about it, we won't rest until it's done. Any questions?
Senator,
Yeah, I think it's rich for some of the opponents who say go through the normal process when many of them were recognized through congressional action. I think Congressman Harris made a great point. We've got a defect during the termination era that this bill fixes. Look, anybody that objects to any tribal member any existing tribe, recognized tribes that objects to recognition because they're worried about their funding stream may be affected should be ashamed of themselves. If they believe that recognition is okay, but don't worry about their piece of property, what is that saying about your colleagues, your other fellow Native Americans? You know, if we've got to come back and I've got to fight to get more funding for more tribes because more get recognized, then so be it. But you don't use a fiscal argument to argue against righting a century-old wrong. And that's what burns me up. And if I hear that argument today in the hearing, you're probably going to hear me burn up in the hearing. Look, folks, this is time to speak truth to your friends. I believe that the people of the Eastern Band of the Cherokee, look, this is in my state. I have had a productive relationship in the past with the Eastern Band, and I hope to enjoy one in the future. But please, don't use the argument after what we did to help the Eastern Band of the Cherokee when Republicans took a majority in the State House and the Democrats never listened to them. Don't play games with politics, and don't start talking about your slice of the pie needs to be bigger, because look at how big your pie got once you got that compact renegotiated that I signed into law. Other than that, I don't have an opinion on it. Any other questions? Thank you all. Look forward to the hearing.
Keep trying.